Hey, Bob's Burgers. I have a new episode of the old 52, and this is where I take a first issue of a pre-existing series and dust it off and talk about it. And it's brought to you by my own comic book series, Red Knight. Issue 5 is out. You can buy it now at the links below. Now, J. Michael Straczynski has been doing comics for a while now. Actually, at the moment, it seems like he's semi-retired from comics and gone back to film. But he got really interested in comics back in the late 90s, and this is actually during an interesting time in Image. Now, this is a Top Cow book, which was Mark Silvestri's section of Image. And Image, I guess in the late 90s, after the comic bubble bursted, you know, the speculator bubble. And Image was a big part of that, you know, with Marvel and the whole 8,000 different small press companies that were supposed to be a big deal. And, well, there was a lot of changes at Image, and one of the things Image started to do, which was really interesting, was they started to make books that weren't stereotypically like themselves. Rob Liefeld, I think, had left at this point, and Jim Lee was kind of out the door, if he hadn't already left at this point. I can't remember when exactly he separated and went over to DC with Wildstorm. But Image started to get onto this kick of actually putting out interesting stuff that wasn't typical, you know. And one of these books was Rising Stars from JMS here. And this is issue 1, and to sort of really help hammer that home, there's a foreword by Neil Gaiman, of all people. But this was something, this book was actually even touted as maybe being sort of the next Watchmen, which it really wasn't, but it's still a really good book. And it's, like I said, by J. Michael Straczynski, and the art is by Q Cha. No, that's his whole name. I'm not familiar with his work, actually, but he does kind of serve that kind of Mark Silvestri kind of style, which is, you know, the kind of, you know, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri kind of look. And it starts off with a comet hitting the Earth near this small town. And let's see, as it approaches, we're seeing people have sex. And I like the stars and the sperm on separate pages. Anyway, it didn't seem to have any effect besides being a scary comet landing until those babies that were born while that happened. Every mother who had a child during that crash had a child that eventually developed superpowers, and I think there's about 180, 140 cases of this. And this basically encapsulates the childhood of at least the main characters. They are, after an incident happens where one is discovered to have super strength, and a really neat scene too. It happens while they're taking class pictures, and the wall, the ceiling comes down, and he catches it in a very superhero, Superman-ish way. It's a really nice scene. But we get to meet some other kids here. We get to discover their powers. Some have like mental powers, some have super physical powers. Some are slightly scary kind of powers. And what's interesting is we, you know, get to see, you know, what they become as adults here. But we move to the scene at this government camp that is kind of designed to kind of keep an eye on them. But in a friendly way, with child molesters. It's camp, I mean, come on. Well, here's a warning out to you child molesters out there. Don't get attached to kids with fire powers. I don't know. That's, hey, you know, you do your business, but that's just my advice. Anyway, it sets up, the whole book is, the whole issue 1 is narrated, and keeps suggesting that this great catastrophe, this huge thing had occurred. Some characters killed, some, you know, move on to greatness. There's, you know, stuff like that. There we go, and that's kind of set up. This is a kind of, I I don't know if I'd call this like a setup issue, because there are some interesting things that happen in this, and it actually kind of just gives a nice, good history of these characters, so you kind of, you know, really get interested in it. Szynski's work is just really terrific here, with the way he cuts through the history, you know, hitting us with all the different important points, letting us know what characters are what pretty early on. I would say Cha's art isn't my particular favorite. It's probably maybe my own real criticism of this book, because he comes out of that kind of extreme art style school that, you know, there were so many creators like that in the 90s. And the problem is, it's hard to do like normal face expressions when when all you know is to have characters grimace. It's like, oh wait, how do I make a person smile without not making them look creepy? But other than that, this is a really good book. I don't know if the trades are still in print. You may want to check this out. You definitely can find these pretty cheap, actually, if you're just going to get individual issues. It's worth digging up and looking for. It's Rising Stars, #1. Push the button, Lindsay.